In the trailer, they were clustered around the table where the baby Tyrannosaurus Rex now lay unconscious on a stainless steel pan, his large eyes closed, his snout pushed into the clear plastic oval of an oxygen mask. The mask almost fitted the baby's blunt snout. The oxygen hissed softly.
I couldn't just leave him, and I figured we can fix his leg. But Eddie,
Malcolm said, shaking his head.
So I shot him full of morphine from the first aid kit and brought him back. You see, the oxygen mask almost fits him. Eddie, this was the wrong thing to do. Why? He's okay. We just fix him and take him back. But you're interfering with the system. This is extremely unwise. Extremely. Thank you, Richard,
Thorne said.
I am entirely opposed to bringing any animal back to the trailer.
Too late to worry about that now.
She had moved forward alongside the baby and began strapping cardiac leads to the animal's chest. They heard the thump of the heartbeat. It was very fast, over 150 beats a minute.
How much morphine did you give him?
Gee, the whole syringe.
What is that? 10 cc's?
I think, maybe 20.
Malcolm looked at Harding.
How long before it wears off?
I have no idea. I've sedated lions and jackals in the field when I tagged them. With those animals, there's a rough correlation between dose and body weight. But with young animals, it's unpredictable. Maybe a few minutes, maybe a few hours. And I don't know anything about baby tyrannosaurs. Basically, it's a function of metabolism, and this one seems to be rapid, bird-like. The heart's pumping very fast. All I can say is let's get him out of here as quick as possible.
Harding picked up the small ultrasound transducer and held it to the baby's leg. She looked over her shoulder at the monitor. Kelly and Arby were blocking the view.
Please, give us a little room here. We don't have much time, please.
As they moved away, Sarah saw the green and white outlines of the leg and its bones. Surprisingly like a large bird, she thought. A vulture or a stork. She moved the transducer.
Okay, there's the metatarsals. And there's the tibia and fibula, the two bones of the lower leg.
Why are the bones different shades like that?
The legs had some dense white sections within paler green outlines.
Because it's an infant. His legs are still mostly cartilage, with very little calcified bone. I guess this baby probably can't walk yet, at least not very well. There, look at the patella. You can see the bloody supply to the joint capsule. How come you know all of this anatomy?
Kelly said.
I have to. I spend a lot of time looking through the scat of predators, examining pieces of bones that are left behind and figuring out which animals have been eaten. To do that, you have to know comparative anatomy very well, and my father was a vet.
Malcolm looked up sharply.
Your father was a vet?
Yes, at the San Diego Zoo. He has a bird specialist. But I don't see... Can you magnify this?
Arby flicked a switch. The image doubled in size.
Ah, okay, alright, there it is. You see it?
No.
It's mid-fibula, see it? A thin black line. That's a fracture, just above the epiphysis.
That little black line there?
Arby said.
That little black line means death for this infant. The fibula won't heal straight, so the ankle joint can't pivot when he stands on his hind feet. The baby won't be able to run and probably can't even walk. It'll be crippled, and a predator will pick it off before it gets more than a few weeks old.
But we can set it.
Okay. What were you going to use for a cast?
Diasteries. I brought 1 kilo of it in 100 cc tubes. I packed lots for glue. The stuff is polymer resin. It solidifies hard as steel.
Great, that'll kill him too.
It will?
He's growing, Eddie. In a few weeks he'll be much larger. We need something that's rigid but biodegradable. Something that will wear off or break off in 3 to 5 weeks when his leg's healed. What have you got?
I don't know.
Well, we don't have much time.
Doc, this is like one of your famous test questions. How to make a dinosaur cast with only Q-tips and superglue. I know,
Thorne said. The irony of the situation was not lost on him. He had given problems such as these to his engineering students for 3 decades. Now he was faced with one himself.
Maybe we could degrade the resin. Mix it with something like table sugar.
Thorne shook his head.
Hydroxide groups in the surface will make the resin fragile. It'll harden okay, but it'll shatter like glass as soon as the animal moves. What if we mixed it with a cloth that's been soaked in sugar? You mean to get bacteria to decay the cloth? Yeah. And then the cast breaks? Yeah. That might work. But without testing, we don't know how long the cast will last. Might be a few days, might be a few months.
That's too long. This animal is growing rapidly. If growth is constricted, it'll end up being crippled by the cast.
What we need is an organic resin that will form a decaying binder. Like a gum of some sort. Chewing gum? Because I have plenty of... No, I was thinking of a different kind of gum, chemically speaking. The diastery resin will never solve it chemically. We don't have the supplies. What else can we do? There's no choice, but what if you make something that is different in different directions? Strong one way and weaker in the other. You can't. It's a homogeneous resin. It's all the same stuff. Could be glue that turns rock hard when it dries and... No, wait a minute.
Thorne said, turning to the boy.
What do you mean, Arby? Well, Sarah said the leg is growing. That means it's going to grow longer, which doesn't matter for the cast. And wider, which does. Because it'll start to squeeze the leg. But if you make it weak in diameter, he's right. We'll solve it structurally. How? Just building a split line. Maybe use aluminum foil. We have some for cooking. That would be much too weak. Not if we coat it with a layer of resin.
Thorne turned to Sarah.
What we can do is make a cast that is very strong for vertical stresses, but weak for lateral stresses. It's a simple engineering problem. The baby can walk around with its cuff and everything is fine, as long as the stress are vertical. But when its leg grows, it'll pop the split line open, and the cuff will fall away. Yes.
Arby said, nodding.
Is that hard to do?
No. It should be pretty easy. You just build the cuff with aluminum foil, and coat it with resin. And what will hold the cuff together while you coat it? How about chewing gum? You got it.
At that moment, the baby Rex stirred, its legs twitching. It raised its head, the oxygen mask dropping away, and gave a low, weak squeak.
Quickly, more morphine.
Malcolm had a syringe ready. He jabbed it into the animal's neck.
Just 5 cc's now.
What's wrong with more? Keep him out longer?
He's in shock from the injury, Ian. You can kill him with too much morphine. You'll put him in respiratory arrest. His adrenal glands are probably stressed, too.
If he ever has adrenalines. Does a Tyrannosaurus Rex have hormones at all? The truth is, we don't know anything about these animals. Speak to yourself, Ian. In point of fact, I suspect we'll find that dinosaurs have hormones. There are compelling reasons to imagine they do. As long as you have gone to the misguided trouble of taking the baby, you might draw some tubes of blood. Meanwhile, Doc, can you pick up the phone? That guy is starting to get on my nerves.
Thorne moved down the trailer to the communications module near the front. Levine's request was odd. There was a perfectly good system of microphones throughout the trailer, but Levine knew that. He had designed the system himself.
Yes? Doc, I'll get right to the point. Bringing the baby to the trailer was a mistake. It's asking for trouble. What sort of trouble? We don't know, it's the point. I don't want to alarm anybody. But why don't you bring the kids out to the high for a while? And why don't you and Eddie come too? You're telling me to get the hell out of here. You really think it's necessary? In a word, yes, I do.
As the morphine was injected into the baby, he gave a sighing wheeze and collapsed back onto the steel pad. Sarah adjusted the oxygen mask around his face. She glanced back at the monitor, checking the heart rate, but once again Arby and Kelly were blocking her view.
Kids, please.
Okay, kids, field trip. Let's get moving. Now? But we want to watch the baby. No. Dr. Malcolm, Dr. Harding need room to work. This is the time for a field trip to the high. We can watch the dinosaurs for the rest of the afternoon.
But Doc...
Don't argue. We just in the way here. And we're going. Eddie, you come too. Leave these two lovebirds to do their work.
Lovebirds?
Levine.
Was this Levine's idea? Clearing everyone out?
Probably.
Does he know something we don't?
I'm sure he thinks he does.
Well, let's start the cast. I want to get it done quickly and take this baby home again.
The sun had disappeared behind the low-hanging clouds by the time they reached the high-tide. The entire valley was bathed in a soft reddish glow as Eddie Carr parked the Explorer beneath the aluminum scaffolding, and they all climbed up to the little shelter above. Levine was there, binoculars to his eyes. He did not seem glad to see them. "Stop moving around so much," he said irritably.
Is there going to be a storm?
"Looks like it," Thorne said. Arby glanced doubtfully at the metal roof of the shelter. "How long are we staying out here?" "For a while," Thorne said. "This is our only day here. The helicopters are taking us away tomorrow morning. I thought you kids deserve a chance to see the dinosaurs in the field one more time." Arby squinted at him. "What's the real reason?"
I know.
"Yeah? What?"
Dr. Malcolm wants to be alone with Sarah, stupid.
"Why?"
They're old friends.
"So? We're just going to watch."
No, I mean, they're old friends.
"I know what you're talking about. I'm not stupid, you know." "Knock it off," Levine said, staring through the binoculars. "You're missing the interesting stuff." "What's that?" "Those Triceratops down at the river. Something is bothering them." Arby turned to look. "There's something in the trees, across the river." The Triceratops herd shifted and began to bark towards each other until they formed a sort of roseate, with their curved horns facing outward against the unseen menace. The solitary baby was in the center, yelping in fear. One of the animals, presumably its mother, turned and nuzzled it. Afterwards, the baby was silent.
I see them. They're raptors. Over there.
The Triceratops herd faced the raptors. The adults barked as they swung their sharp horns up and down. They created a kind of barrier between spikes. There was an unmistakable sense of coordination, of group defense against predators. Levine was smiling happily. "There's never been any evidence of this," he said, suddenly cheerful. "In fact, most paleontologists don't believe it happens." "Don't believe what happens," Arby said. "This kind of group defensive behavior, especially with trikes. They look a bit like rhinos, so they have been assumed to be solitary, like rhinos. But now we'll see." "Ah, yes." From beneath the tree, a single Velociraptor hopped out into view. It moved quickly in its hind legs, balancing with stiff tail. The Triceratops barked noisily at the approaching Velociraptor. The other raptors remained hidden beneath the trees. The solitary Velociraptor in full view, moving in a slow semicircle around the herd, entering the waters on the far side. It crossed, swimming easily, and came out on the other bank. It was now about 50 yards upstream from the barking Triceratops herd, which wielded to present a unit form. All their attention was focused on the single raptor. Slowly, other raptors began to slink out their hiding places. They moved low, bodies hidden in tall grass. "Geez, they're hunting!" "In pack," Levine said, nodding. He picked up a bit of candy bar raptor from the floor of the shelter and dropped it, watching it floated off into the wind. "The main pack is downwind, so the trikes can't smell them." He raised the binoculars to his eyes again. "I think we're about to see a kill." They watched as the raptors closed in around the herd. One of the stalking raptors stood up in surprise. Its head was brightly visible above the grass. Immediately, the Triceratops herd wheeled it again, regrouping to face a new nemesis. All the raptors stopped, as if to reconsider their plans. "What happened?" Harvey said. "Why are they stopping?" "They're in trouble."
Why?
"Look at them. The main pack is still across the river. They're too far away to mount an attack."
You mean they're giving up already?
"Looks like it," Levine said. One by one, the raptors in the grass raised their heads, making their position known. As each new predator appeared, the Triceratops barked loudly. The raptors seemed to know the situation was hopeless. They slunk away, moving back towards the trees. Seeing them retreat, the Triceratops barked even louder. And then the single raptor by the water's edge charged. It moved incredibly fast, astonishingly fast, streaking like a cheetah across the 50 yards that separated from the herd. The adult Triceratops had no time to reform. The baby was exposed. It squealed in fright as it saw the approaching animal. Whoa! That was something! King gave a sign of relief as he came to the white fork in the road and drove the red Jeep left, coming out into the wide dirt road. He recognizes it at once. This was the ridge road that led back to the boat. As he looked off to his left, he could see down across the East Valley. The boat was still there. All right! He gave a shout and accelerated sharply. Relief flooded through him. On the desk, he could see the Spanish fishermen staring up at the sky. Despite the threatening storm, they didn't seem to be preparing to leave. Probably they were waiting for Dachshund. Well, he thought, that was fine. King would be there in a few minutes. After working his way through the dense jungle, he could finally see exactly where he was. The ridge road was high, following the crest of one of the volcanic spines. There was also no foliage up here, and as the road twisted and turned, he had views across the entire island. To the east, he could look down into the ravine and the boat at the shore. To the west, he could look straight across at the laboratory and Malcolm's twin trailers parked near the far edge of the clearing. They never did find out what the hell Malcolm was doing here, he thought. Not that that mattered now. King was getting off the island. That was the only thing that mattered. He could almost feel the depths beneath his feet. Maybe one of the fishermen would even have a beer. A nice cold beer. While they chucked down the river and pull out of this damn island. He had toasted Dachshund, is what he had done. Maybe, he thought, I'll have 2 beers. King came across a curve and saw a herd of animals standing thickly in the road. They were some kind of green dinosaurs, about 4 feet tall, with big dome heads and a bunch of little horns. They reminded him of green water buffaloes. The green dinosaurs looked at his car, but they did not move. The herd just stood there in a lazy, continued way. King waited, drumming his fingers in the steering wheel. They were funny-looking creatures, with a smooth bulging curve on the forehead and all those little horns around it. They just stared at him with a stupid cow-like look. He slipped the car into gear and edged it forward slowly, expecting that he could push his way through the animals. They didn't move aside. Christ, he thought. It could puncture the radiator if he wasn't careful. Several of them lying down on the road. He couldn't drive over them. He looked around towards the river and saw the boat. No more than a quarter of a mile away. He hasn't realized it was so near. As he watched, he realized that the fishermen were very busy on the desk. They were swinging their cranes back, lashing it down. They were getting ready to leave. The hell with this, he thought. He opened the door and climbed out, leaving the car in the center of the road. Immediately, the animals jumped to their feet, and the nearest one charged him. He had opened the door. The animal smashed into it, slamming it shut, leaving a deep bend in the metal. King scrambled towards the edge of the hill, only to find he was at the top of the steep and vertical descent of more than 100 feet. He had never make it down, at least not here. Farther along, the slump was not so steep, but now more animals were charging him. He has no choice. He ran around back of the car, just as another animal smashed into the rear tail light, shattering the plastic. A third animal charged back of the car directly. King scrambled out onto the spare tire as the animal slammed into the bumper. The jolt knocked him off, and he fell to the ground, rolling while the buffaloes snorted all around him. He got to his feet and ran to the opposite side of the road, where there was a slight rise. He scrambled up it, moving into the foliage. The animals did not pursue him. Not that it did him any good. Now he was on the wrong side of the road. Somehow, he has to get back to the other side. He climbed to the top of the rise and started down, swearing to himself. He decided to work his way forward 100 yards or so, until it was beyond of the budding animals, and then cross the road. If he could do that, then he could get to the boat. The kids were still peering over the railing, looking at the departing raptors. Thorne pulled Levine to one side and said quietly, "Why did you want us to come here?" "Just a precaution," Levine said. "Bringing the infant to the trailer is asking for trouble." "What sort of trouble?" "We don't know, it's the point." But in general, parents don't like it when their babies are taken away, and that baby has some very big parents. Look! Look! What is it? Levine said. It's a man! Gasping for breath, King emerged from the jungle and walked out onto the plain. At last, he could see where he was. He paused, soaked and muddy to get his bearings. He was disappointed to find that he was nowhere near the boat. In fact, he still seemed to be on the wrong side of the road. The plain was mostly deserted, although there were several dinosaurs farther down the banks. There were the horned ones, Triceratops. And it looked a little agitated. The big adults were raising their heads up and down, making barking sound. Obviously, he would have to follow the river until it brought him to the boat, but he had to be careful getting past these Triceratops. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a candy bar. He ripped the raft while he watches the Triceratops, wishing they would go away. How long would it take him to reach the boat? That was the only question on his mind. He decided to move, Triceratops or not. He began to walk through the tall grass. Then he heard a reptilian hiss. It was coming from the grass, somewhere to his left, and he noticed the smell, a peculiar rotten odor. The candy bar didn't taste so good anymore. Then behind him, he heard splashing. It was coming from the river. King turned to look. King saw two dark, striped lizards moving across the river. They walked on their hind legs with a sort of hopping motion. Their bodies were reflected in the floating water of the river. They snapped their long jaws and hissed menacingly at King. He glanced upstream and saw another lizard crossing, and another beyond that. Those other animals were already deep in the water, and they had begun to swim. Howard King backed away from the river, moving deeper into the tall grass. Then he turned and ran. He was chest deep in the grass and running hard, gasping for breath, when suddenly another lizard head rose up in front of him, hissing and snarling. He dodged, changing direction. But suddenly, the nearest lizard leapt into the air. It jumped so high, its body cleared the grass. He could see the entire animal flying towards the air. Its two hind legs rose to pounce. King turned again, and the lizard screeched as it landed onto the ground behind him and tumbled away into the grass. King ran hard. He was energized by pure fear. Behind him, he heard the lizard snarling. He ran hard. Ahead was another 10 yards of grassy clearing, and then the jungle began again. He saw trees. Big trees. He could climb one and get away. Off to the left, he saw another lizard moving diagonally across the clearing towards him. King could only see the head above the grass. The lizard seemed to be moving incredibly fast. He thought, I'm not going to make it. But he would try. Panting, lungs searing, he sprinted for the trees. Only 10 more yards now. His arms pumped, his legs jerked, his breath came into a ragged gasp. And then suddenly heavy struck him from behind, forcing him into the ground, and he felt a searing pain down to his back, and he knew it was the claws. They dug into the flesh of his back as he was knocked down. He hit the dirt hard and tried to roll, but the animal on his back held on. He could not move. He was pinned down into his stomach, hearing the animal snarl behind him. The pain on his back was excruciating, dizzying. And then he felt the animal's hot breath onto the back of his neck, and he could hear the snorting breath, and his horror was extreme. Then suddenly, a kind of lassitude, a deep and welcoming sleepiness took him. Everything became slow. As if in a dream, he could see all the blades of grass onto the ground in front of his face. He saw them with a kind lent intensity, and he almost did not mind the sharp pain in his neck. And he almost did not care that his neck was within the animal's hot jaws. It seems to be happening to someone else. He was many miles away. He had a moment of surprise when he felt the bones in his neck crunching loudly. And then blackness. Nothing. Thorne turned Harvey away from the railing in the hide. He drew the boy towards his chest, but Harvey impatiently pushed him away again to watch what was happening. Thorne reached for Kelly, but she stepped away from him and stared out at the plain. Don't look, Thorne kept saying. Don't look! The kids watched in silence. Levine focused his binoculars onto the kill. There were now 5 raptors snarling around the man's body, tearing viciously at the carcass. As he watched, one of the raptors jerked his head up, tearing away a piece of blood-soaked shirt, the ragged edge of the collar. Another was shaking the man's severed head on its jaws, before finally dropping it onto the ground. Thunder rumbled, lightning flashed in the distant sky. It was growing dark, and Levine was having a difficult seeing exactly what was happening. Here was every animal for itself. The frenzied raptors hopped and ducked their heads as they tore the body to pieces, and there was plenty of nipping and fighting amongst themselves. One raptor came up with something brown hanging from its jaws. The animal got an odd expression on its face as it chewed. Then it turned away from the rest of the pack and held the brown object carefully on its forearms. In the growing darkness, it took Levine a moment to recognize what it was doing. It was eating a candy bar, and it seems to be enjoying it. The raptors turned back and buried its long nose in the bloody carcass again. From across the plain, other raptors were racing to join the feast, half running, half bounding, in the great forward leaps. Snarling and furious, they throw themselves into the fray. Levine lowered his glasses and looked at the two kids. They were staring silently and calmly at the kill. Dachshund was awaked by a noisy chirping, like the sound of 100 tiny birds. It seemed to be coming from all around him. Slowly he realized he was lying on his back at the dense lumpy ground. He tried to move, but his body felt painful and heavy. The weight on his chest made him difficult to breathe. And he was sleepy, incredibly sleepy. He wanted nothing all in the world than to go back to sleep. Dachshund started to drift off to unconsciousness, but something was pulling at his hand, tugging at his fingers one by one, as if pulling him back to consciousness. Slowly pulling him back. Dachshund opened his eyes. There was a little green dinosaur standing beside his hand. It leaned over and bit his fingers in his tiny jaws, tugging at the flesh. His fingers were bleeding. A ragged chunk of flesh had already been bitten away. He pulled his hand away in surprise, and suddenly the chirping grew louder. He turned and saw that he was surrounded by these little dinosaurs. They were standing on his chest and leg as well. They were the size of chickens, and they pecked at him like chickens. Quick darting bitings in his stomach, his thigh, his crotch. That was when he realized what they were. They were Proconsagophus, compies, scavengers. Christ, he thought. They thought I was dead. He staggered back, almost losing his balance. He felt pain and a wave of dizziness. The little dinosaurs chirped, watched his every move. Go on, he said, waving his hand. Get out of here. They did not leave. They stood there, cocking their heads to one side, squealing, and waited. He bent to his head, stared down at himself. His shirt, his trousers were torn in 100 places, blood dripping from 100 tiny wounds down to his clothes. He felt a wave of dizziness and pulled his hand on his knees. Christ, he thought. He took another breath. When he did not move, the animals began to inch further. He stood up and they backed away, but a moment later, they began to come forward again. One came close. Dachshund kicked it viciously, sending the little body flying through the air, the animal squealing and alert, but it landed like a cat, upright and uninjured. The others remained where they are, waiting. He looked around, realizing it was getting dark. He looked at his watch. 6:40. There was a little few minutes more of daylight. Beneath the jungle canopies, it was already quite dark. He has to get to safety, and soon. He checked the compass on his watch strapped and headed south. He was pretty sure the river was to the south. He had to get back to the boat. He would be safe at the boat. As he started walking, the compies chirped and followed after him. They stayed about 5 or 10 feet behind, making a lot of noise as they hopped and crashed through the low foliage. There were dozens of them, he realized. As darkness descended, their eyes glowed bright green. His body was a mass of pain. Every step hurt. His balance was not good. He was losing blood. He was very, very sleepy. He would never make its way all the way to the river. He would not make it more than another couple of 100 yards. He fell, tripping over a root. He got up slowly, dirt clinging into his blood-soaked clothes. He looked back at the green eyes behind him and focused himself onward. He could go a little farther, he thought, and then directly ahead he saw light through the foliage. Was it the boat? He moved faster, hearing the compies behind him. He pushed through the foliage and then saw a little shed, like a tool shed or a guardhouse, made of concrete with a tin roof. It had a squared window and lights were shining through the windows. He fell again, got to his knees, and crawled to the rest of the way to the house. He reached the door, pulled himself up into the doorknob, and opened it. Inside, the shed was empty. Some pipes came up through the floor. Sometime in the past, they had connected the machinery, but it was gone. There were only the rough spots where they had once been bolted to the concrete floor. In the corner of the room was an electric light. It was filtered with a timer, so that it comes on at night. That was the light he had seen. He staggered into the room, closed the door firmly behind him, and sank into the bare concrete. Through the dirty window panels, he saw the compies outside, banging against the glass, hopping in frustration. But he was safe for the moment. He would have to go on, of course. He would somehow have to get off this fucking island. But not now, he thought. Later. He had worried about everything later. The oxen lay his cheek on the damp concrete floor and slept. Sarah Harding placed the aluminum foil cuff around the baby's injured leg. The baby was still unconscious, breathing easily, not moving. Its body was relaxed. The oxygen hissed softly. She finished wrapping the aluminum foil into the cuff 6 inches long. Using a small brush, she began to paint resin over it to make a cast.
How many raptors are there? I couldn't tell for sure when I saw them. I thought 9.
I think there's more, Malcolm said. I think 11 or 12 in all.
12? On this little island?
Yes.
You know what I'm thinking.
Yes. There are too many.
Far too many, Ian. It doesn't make sense. In Africa, active predators like lions are very spread out. There's one lion for every 10 square kilometers. Sometimes every 15 kilometers. That's all the ecology can support. On this island like this, you should have no more than 5 raptors. Hold this.
Uh-huh. But don't forget, the prey here is huge. Some of those animals are 20 to 30 tons.
I'm not convinced that's a factor. But for the sake of argument, let's say it is. I'll double the estimate and give you 10 raptors for the island, but you tell me there are 12, and there are other major predators as well, like the Rexes.
Yes, there are.
That's too many.
The animals are pretty dense here, Malcolm said.
Not dense enough. In general, predator studies, whether tiger in India or lions in Africa, all seem to show that you can support 1 predator for every 200 prey animals. That means to support 25 predators here, you need at least 5,000 prey on this island. Do you have anything like that?
No.
How many animals in total do you think are here?
A couple of hundred. Maybe 500 at most.
So you're off by an order of magnitude, Ian. Hold this, and I'll get the lamp.
She swung the heat lamp over the baby to harden the resin. She adjusted the oxygen mask over the baby's snout.
This island can support all those predators, and yet they're here.
What could explain it?
There has to be a food source that we don't know about.
You mean an artificial source? I don't think there is one.
No. Artificial food sources make animals tame, and these animals aren't tame. The only possibility I can think of is that there's a differential death rate among prey. If they grow very fast or die young, then that might represent a larger food supply than expected.
I've noticed the largest animals seem small. It's as if they don't seem to reach maturity. Maybe they're being killed off early.
Maybe, but if there's a differential death rate larger enough to support this population, you should see evidence of carcasses and lots of skeletons, dead animals. Have you seen that?
Malcolm shook his head. No. In fact, now that you mention it, I haven't seen any skeletons at all.
Me either. There's something funny about this island, Ian.
I know.
Do you?
Yes. I have suspected it from the beginning. Maybe we should go back, Eddie said anxiously. Why? Levine said. Levine switched to his night vision glasses, pleased with himself that he had thought to bring them. Through the goggles, the world was shade of pale green. He clearly saw the raptors at the kill site. The tall grass trembled and bloodied all around. I just think that now it's night, we'd be safe in the trailer. Why? Well, it's reinforced. It's strong and very safe. It has everything that we need. I just think we should be there. I mean, you're not planning on staying out here all night, are you? No, Levine said. What do you think I am, a fanatic? But let's stay for a while longer, Levine said. Eddie turned to Thorne. Doc, what do you say? It's going to start raining soon. Just a little longer, Thorne said, and then we'll all go back together. There have been dinosaurs on this island for 5 years, maybe more, Malcolm said. But none have appeared elsewhere. Suddenly, in the last year, carcasses of dead animals are showing up on the beaches of Costa Rica, and according to reports, on islands of the Pacific as well.
Carried by currents?
Presumably. But the question is, why now? Why all of a sudden after 5 years? Something has changed, but we don't know. Wait a minute. He moved away from the table, over to the computer console. He turned towards the screen.
What are you doing?
Arby got us into the old network, and it still has research files from the 80s. He moved the mouse across the screen. We haven't looked at them. He saw the menu come up, showing work files and research files. He began to scroll through screens of text. Years ago, they have trouble with some disease. There were lots of notes about it in the laboratory.
What kind of disease?
They didn't know, Malcolm said.
In the wild, there are some very slow-acting illnesses. May take 5 or 10 years to show up, caused by viruses or prions. You know, protein fragments like scrappy or mad cow disease?
But those diseases only come from eating contaminated food.
What do you suppose they fed them back then? Because if I was growing baby dinosaurs, I wonder, what do they eat? Milk, I suppose, but...
Milk, yes, Malcolm said, reading the screen. First 6 weeks, goat's milk.
That's the logical choice. Goat's milk is what they always use in zoos because it's so hypoallergenic. But what about later?
Give me a minute here, Malcolm said. Harding held the baby's leg in her hand, waiting for the resin to harden. She looked at the cast, sniffed it. It was still strong smelling.
I hope that's alright. Sometimes if there's a distinctive smell, the animals won't allow infants to return, but maybe this will dissipate after the compound hardens. How long has it been?
Malcolm glanced at his watch. 10 minutes. Another 10 minutes and it'll set.
I'd like to take this guy back to the nest.
Probably too late to return him tonight, Malcolm said. He was still typing, peering at the screen.
So, what did they feed them? Okay. In the period from 1988 to 1989, the herbivore got a macerated plant matter on a feeding schedule 3 times a day. And the carnivores got... What did the carnivores get?
It was like ground up extract of animal protein.
From what? The usual source is turkey or chicken with some antibiotics added.
Sarah, they used sheep extract.
No, they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, they did. Came from their supplier, who used ground up sheep.
You're kidding.
I'm afraid so. Now let me see if I can find out.
What's that?
The sensors. Something set them off. Malcolm moved away from the computer, peered out the window. He saw nothing but tall grass and the dark trees at the perimeter.
What happened?
I don't know. I don't see anything.
But something triggered the sensors?
I guess.
Wind?
There's no wind.
Hey, look.
The exterior lights on the trailer had come on. Ian, are you there? I'm here, Doc. What's happening? I don't know. The perimeter lights just turned on. I think the sensor was activated. But we don't see anything out there. Air's cooling off fast now. Might have been a convection current set it off. Ian, everything okay? Yes, fine. Don't worry. I always figure we set the sensitivity too high. That's all it is. Levine frowned and said nothing.
What do you think?
Eddie says the system's too sensitive.
Is it?
I don't know. It's never been tested before.
I don't see anything, Ian.
No. Me neither.
Must be a false alarm. Ian, I see it.
What?
Ian, look, there are 2 of them. What are they doing here?
I don't know.
Are they looking for the baby?
Sarah, please.
I'm serious.
That's ridiculous.
Why? They must have tracked it here.
Sarah, we're miles from the nest. There ain't any way for them to track it.
How do you know?
Sarah.
You said yourself, we don't know anything about these animals. We don't know anything about their physiology, their biochemistry, their nervous systems, their behavior, and we don't know anything about their sensory equipment either.
Yes, but...
They're predators, Ian. Good sense of vision, good sense of hearing and smell.
I assume so, yes.
But we don't know what else.
What else?
Ian, there are other sensory modalities. Snakes sense infrared. Bats have echolocation. Birds and turtles have magnetosensors that can detect the Earth's magnetic field, which is how they migrate. Dinosaurs may have other sensory modalities that we can't imagine.
Sarah, this is ridiculous.
Is it? Then you tell me, what are they doing out there?
It looks like they're looking around.
Straight into the light? No, Ian, they're blinded.
As soon as she said it, he realized she was right, but the heads were turning back and forth in that regular way. And what are they doing? Smelling?
No, heads are high, nostrils aren't moving.
Listening?
Possibly.
Listening to what?
Maybe to the baby.
Sarah, the baby is out cold.
I know.
It isn't making any noise.
None that we can hear. But they're doing something, Ian. That behavior we're seeing has meaning. We just don't know what it is.
From the hide height, Levine stared through his night vision glasses at the clearing. He saw the two Tyrannosaurs standing at the edge of the forest. They were moving their heads in an odd, synchronized way. They took a few hesitant steps towards the trailer, lifted their heads, turned right and left, and then seemed finally to make up their minds. The animals moved quickly, almost aggressively across the clearing.
It's the lights. The lights are drawing them. That did it.
What do you see?
Nothing. What are they doing? They're just standing there.
What is it?
They're waiting, Levine said. At least for the moment. Levine had a distinct impression that the Tyrannosaurs were unsettled. The trailer must represent a large, fearsome change in their environment. Perhaps they would turn away, he thought, and leave. Despite their enormous size, they were cautious, almost timid animals.
Ian, what do we do?
Damned if I know.
They were crouched down side by side in the passageway, trying to stay out of sight in the windows. The Tyrannosaurs moved impressively forward. They could feel each step as a distant vibration now. 2 10-ton animals moving towards them.
They're coming right at us.
I noticed.
The first of the animals reached the trailer, coming so close that the body blocked the entire window. All Malcolm could see was powerful, muscled legs and underbelly. The head was far above them, out of view. Then, the second Tyrannosaur came up on the opposite side. The 2 animals began to circle the trailer, growling and snorting. Malcolm felt sudden panic. It was the smell that did it, the smell that he suddenly remembered from before. He began to sweat. He glanced over at Sarah and saw that she was intent, watching the movements of the animals.
This isn't hunting behavior.
I know, maybe it is. They aren't lions, you know?
Not hunting, they're searching, Ian.
What do we do?
Ian, are you there? Ian!
For God's sakes, turn that off.
We're okay.
She wants the baby, Ian.
Well, God knows. It's all right with me.
How are we going to get it out the door?
I don't know. Maybe push it out the door?
I don't want them to step on it.
Who cares?
It's okay. It's all right now. The baby's fine. I'm just going to loosen these straps here. You can watch me. That's right. Your baby's fine. See? It's just fine.
What are you doing?
I know it sounds crazy, but it works with lions sometimes. There we are. Your baby's free. Now, all I have to do is get it to you. It's feeling the heartbeat.
What's happening?
She's licking him and pushing him with her snout.
And?
That's all. She just keeps doing it.
What about the baby?
Nothing. It keeps rolling over like it's dead. How much morphine did we give him the last time?
I don't know. How should I know?
He's waking up, Ian. The baby's waking up.
What's it doing?
I guess. Taking it back.
Malcolm's shoulders dropped. That was close.
Yes, that was close.
Ian, are you there? Ian!
Maybe they turned the radio off.
Can you see what the animals are doing? I can, Eddie said. It looks like they're going away. They all began to cheer. Only Levine remained silent, watching through the glasses. Thorne turned to him. Is that right, Richard? Is everything okay? Actually, I think not, Levine said. I'm afraid we have made a serious error.
Why are they doing that? They should be going back to the nest.
I don't know. Maybe they're...
Maybe the baby's dead. Oh no. This is wrong, Ian. This is all wrong. Oh my god.
Brace yourself, Sarah. This is gonna be bad. Lightning flashed again, and Malcolm saw her, lying crumbling near the accordion junction that connected the two trailers. The junction was twisted almost shut, which must mean the second trailer was still upright. Too bad they don't bite into the battery cable. That'll give them a real surprise.
Ian.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. Can you see what it is?
Does it hurt?
It's okay.
I think it's not too bad.
What are they doing?
They're pushing us over the cliff.
Do something.
Yeah, okay.
What is it? What happened? I can't tell, Levine said. It was hard to see everything in this downpour. Moments before, they had watched in horror as the two Tyrannosaurs pushed the trailer towards the cliff. The large animals had done it with ease. Levine guessed the Tyrannosaurs had a combined mass of 20 tons, and the trailer only weighed about 2 tons. Once they had turned it over, it slid easily over to the wet grass as they pushed it with their underbellies and kicked it with their powerful leg muscles. Why are they doing that? I suspect we have changed the perceived territory. How's that again? You have to remember what we're dealing with, Levine said. Tyrannosaurs may show complex behavior, but most of it is instinctual. It's unthinking behavior, wired in, and territoriality is part of that instinct. The Tyrannosaurs mark territory. They defend territory. It's not thinking behavior. They don't have very large brains, but they do it from instinct. All instinctive behavior has triggers, releasers for the behavior. And I'm afraid that by moving the baby, we redefined their territory to include a clearing where the baby was found. So now they're going to defend their territory by driving out the trailers. That connector won't hold. I'm going. I'll come with you. No, stay with the kids. But you need to stay with the kids. We can't leave them alone. But Levine can't. No, you stay. Everything was dark. She was disoriented. Then lightning flashed, and she was staring straight down towards the valley, 500 feet below. The view swung gently back and forth. She was looking through the windshield of the trailer, hanging down the side of the cliff. They were not falling anymore, but they were hanging precautiously in space. She herself was lying across the driver's seat, which had broken free of its mounting and shattered the control panel on the wall. Loose wires hung out, panel indicators frequent. She was having trouble seeing from the blood in her left eye. She pulled out a tile of her shirt and ripped 2 stripes of cloth. She folded one to make a compress and pressed it against the gash on her forehead. Then she tied the second strap around her head to hold the compress down. The pain was intense for a moment. She gritted her teeth until it faded. From somewhere above her, she felt a thumping vibration. She turned and looked straight up. She saw the whole length of the trailer suspended vertically. Malcolm was 10 feet above her, bent over a lab table, not moving.
Ian?
The trailer shredded again, cracking under a dull impact. And then Harding realized what had happened. The first trailer was dangling straight down the cliff face, swinging freely in space, but it was still connected to the second trailer, up on the clearing. The first trailer now hung from the accordion connector, and the Tyrannosaurs up above were now pushing the second trailer off the cliff.
Ian. Ian!
It was like a mountain climbing through a damn kitchen, she thought. Soon she was alongside Malcolm. Lightning flashed again, and she saw him battered-faced, groined. She crawled over to him, trying to see how bad he was hurt.
Ian.
Sorry.
Never mind.
I got you into this.
Ian, can you move? Are you okay?
My leg.
Ian, there's not much time. We have to do something.
Power.
What about it?
Power is off.
You want me to turn the power on?
Yes. Turn it on.
How, Ian?
There's a panel.
Where?
He pointed downward. She looked down, saw loose wires from the panel.
I can't. It's broken.
Up. She could hardly hear him. Vaguely, she remembered that there was another control panel just inside the second trailer. If she could get in, she might be able to turn the power on.
Okay, Ian. I'll do it.
She moved on, going higher. The floor of the trailer was now 30 feet below her. She intended to go through the accordion passage into the second trailer, but as she came closer to the top, she saw that it was not possible. In the harsh flash of lightning, she saw the accordion passage was twisted tightly shut. She was trapped in the first trailer.
Ian!
There was no time left. She was hanging suspended in blackness. The power was out, and there was nothing... Or was there? She heard an electric hum, not far away in the darkness. Was there a panel up here, at the end of the trailer? Did they design it to have panels on both ends? Hanging near the top of the trailer, her shoulders and forearms burned with strain. She looked around for a second power panel. She was up near the far end. If there was a panel, it should be nearby. But where? In the glare of lightning, she looked over one shoulder, then the other. She saw no panel.
Ian, please.
It wasn't possible. She kept hearing that hum. There had to be a panel. She just wasn't seeing it. There had to be a panel. She swung left and right, and lightning flashed again, casting crazy shadows. And then at last she saw it. It was just 6 inches above her head. It was upside down, but she could see all the buttons and switches. But they were dark now. If she could just figure out which was which... The hell with it. She released her right hand, and hanging from her left, pressing every button on the panel she could touch. Immediately, the trailer began to light up, every interior light coming on. She kept pressing the buttons, one after another. Some shorted out. There were sparks and smokes. She kept pressing more. Suddenly, the side monitor came on, just inches from her face, a strict video blur. Then it came into focus. Although she was looking at it sideways, she could see the Tyrannosaurs up in the clearing, standing over the second trailer, their forearms touching it, their powerful legs kicking and pushing at it. She pressed more buttons. The final one had a silver protective cover. She flicked over the cover open and pressed that button too.